Again, Brian Stevens with WyoNation. Really excited to talk to you, man, because we've actually got kind of a similar background. I'm an analyst at the Department of Insurance for a day job.
Cool, very cool.
So, how did you get into the basketball scene? Like, I know when you were at Loyola, you were studying finance, and you talked to the coach and said, "Hey, I've got this stuff that I'm looking at." Kind of, how does that translate over?
Yeah, so I was there from 2013 to 2017 as a student, and I wanted to be like a baseball GM, so I was in my dorm room doing baseball stats and stuff. And one day I DM'd one of the coaches, Brian Mullins. He's now at DePaul, but he was the head coach of Southern Illinois for a little bit. And yeah, he brought me to the office, and I talked about my ideas, and we just kind of went from there. And obviously the basketball industry, it grows so quickly. So I made a lot of connections. There was 3 head coaches on that team, and learned a lot of success at Loyola. But yeah, I was really just stopping in the office and saying kind of what I did, and he just kind of let me take the reins and went from there. So
Awesome. So you said you wanted to be a baseball GM. I know you spent some time with the White Sox.
Yep.
What kind of approach were you taking with your scouting? Was it kind of the advanced analytics approach where you really diving in and seeing who's better on base and who's
yeah, so I worked primarily with the pitching staff there, but it was a lot of obviously looking at heat maps in terms of like where we wanted to pitch guys with certain pitches, how we wanted to attack them, first pitch, second pitch, pitches to get them out, stuff like that. And then like from the player development side and acquisition, it was more like looking at similarity scores and adjusting kind of like our expectations for players within the system, targeting guys outside the system. But yeah, a lot of just like projecting players and kind of putting a dollar value on them and seeing who we could get best bang for our buck. A couple playoff seasons there. Right now, the White Sox are the worst team in baseball. So yeah, but no, learned a lot back there as well.
That's awesome. I was actually just in Chicago. I was out there for a conference, and we went to the Sox game.
Oh, really? Who'd they play?
The Yankees. His own Judge hit his 300th home run.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah.
But I'm not a Yankees fan, so it didn't matter.
Who do you want to win though in the World Series? I want the Yankees to win.
Oh man, I can't pull for the Yankees. I'm not a huge Dodgers fan either. I really hope that the Mets are going to make it.
Yeah. I don't like either.
Gotcha. So how do the baseball stats and the basketball stats kind of go hand in hand? Are you looking at largely the same thing, just in a different sport?
So for the transfer portal, which will be a big part of my role, yes. Obviously projecting players, kind of applying our own like modeling, numbers to them. Obviously there's different things that you value in basketball, but kind of weighing the things that we value and finding the undervalued things, that's the same, methodology. But yeah, and the portal is its biggest in terms of kind of like roster development, roster construction, and kind of like balancing a team. There's similarities for sure, but obviously you have your few key stats that you like to focus on, and we've identified some that we think are indicative of success that maybe other teams have not identified yet. So that's kind of how we operate.
Awesome. So is the portal going to be like your primary focus? Is it going to be the player retention and the team building, or are you doing a lot of scouting still?
Yeah, still doing a lot of scouting, mainly like personnel scouting. So I'll give our staff pregame reports, like with tendencies on players, if they're better driving right or left, over their left or right shoulder in the post. Do they like to pass more or look to score when they're driving? Are they better shooting off the catch, off the bounce, stuff like that? And they can implement that into their, schematic defensive game plan to give to the players. But then, once portal season hits, and obviously during the season, I'll be monitoring guys that, maybe we want to target if, we're hearing they're going to go in the portal. So a good balance of scouting and then obviously, roster construction in the offseason.
Gotcha. So does your position here still afford you the opportunity to be running JBI and be active in that company?
Yeah, coach has been great about that. Long term, not sure I want to continue to do that. I think I would like to just focus on one team. But this year, yeah, I've cut my client base in half, but I'm still working with about 10 teams. None of them that are on our schedule, none that, are in the Mountain West. But yeah.
Gotcha. Had you worked with teams in the Mountain West before you got this job?
No, I'd never had a Mountain West team. So, excited to be in the league. It's a great league. 6 teams in the tournament last year. Premier basketball league. So I'm ready to kind of, test my methodology and test my mettle here too. So I'm very excited about it.
Awesome. I know you did work with Coach Wicks last year in Green Bay. How did that relationship start?
So Coach Monahan, I worked with him at Southern Illinois, obviously through the Brian Mullins connection. And when he went to Green Bay, we had a call in the off season, and he got me on a call with Coach Wicks, and his energy was just infectious from the first time I talked to him. And he was telling me like ways to grow my business and how I could scale and stuff. And Yeah, that the relationship really developed there. He's a numbers head himself, so he's invented his own stats since I've been here too, and it's a great relationship because he balances the coaching aspect and understanding the players and what makes them tick with the numbers and how to really get that message through. He's awesome about that.
Awesome. So how did the relationship progress from, him being a contract that you worked with to joining the staff down here? Kind of talk to us about how that transition went.
Yeah, so I mean, my relationship with all my clients, the better relationships I have are the ones with the coaches that are receptive to the stuff and very engaged, and we communicate back and forth. And he was one of the coaches at Green Bay. Like him and I were communicating all of last season, working on lineup combinations and stuff like that. I was always talking to Coach Wicks, and when the off season came around in Green Bay, it was like, okay, what can we do to kind of make the roster, better for next season? And applying the methodology that I used like for roster construction with the Sox, I kind of like pitched him like something for the off season for Green Bay. And it kind of just went from there. Obviously there's the GM roles are coming up more in college sports, and it was something that we had talked about. And then, once he was able to get this job, it was just a phone call, and it kind of just, developed from there. Hey, what do you think of this? And I was obviously all for it. So yeah, it was awesome.
So were you helping him with any roster construction before you officially came on staff?
Oh, yeah. So once, obviously, when he took the job, he made me aware of it, and we were talking about, potentially, joining the staff here. And, all summer. I came here at the end of July, but all summer I was, talking with him. He was sending me guys that they were targeting and recruiting. I was giving my thoughts, and we were, tinkering with our secret formula we have to identify players. So yeah, I was involved all summer with that process.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of something you would look at? Like, not asking you to give away secrets by any means, but like, I'm sure you're looking at more than just like plus minus while players on the floor. Like, what's one of the keystones you might look for?
So obviously, I don't know if you're familiar with the 4 factors in basketball, but offensive rebounding, effective field goal, turnover percentage, free throw rate. We've kind of developed our own special 8 factors that we like, and it's a different number of stats. We look at a lot of advanced metrics. We look at rate stats. So a perfect example, Scotty Abube. I mean, I think he's one of 3 players in college basketball last year to score and rebound at the rate that he did. The other 2 players were Zach Edey and Dayton Danger. So guys that produce at a really like elite rate when they're on the floor. Obviously, he didn't play that many minutes, so that's one of the things we're working on this year, getting him, better conditioned, especially here at 72-20, but able to play because when he's out there, he's a beast. He produces at an elite rate. Cole Henry, same way, elite assist numbers. So really looking at a lot of rate stats, and then we have our own weights of the 4 factors, and kind of extrapolated it out to 8. But yeah, so we feel comfortable with our numbers.
That's awesome, man. It's all super interesting stuff. Like I said, it's what I do for a living too.
Yeah,
so it's really interesting to me. All right. So you are still working with a few other basketball teams. How do they feel about you being on a staff of a T1 program?
Yeah, so a lot of them I have good relationships with, and I've gotten to know them over the years, and most of the people are very happy. They've known I've been looking for a role like this for a while. Some of my clients, I expressed always to them, the truth. I was like, hey, I'm going to be joining the staff here. And some clients didn't want to continue working together. Most of them were comfortable with it. I'm always going to do the best job I can for my clients. I've worked with teams in the same league before. I've worked with teams that have played each other in tournaments before. It's not like I'm picking favorites or anything like that. I'm always just going to do my best job. But yeah, most staffs are cool about it. Hopefully, we don't match up with any of them until later in the season. In the tournament, that's probably the only time. But that'd be a great problem to have if it did happen. So everyone's been cool about it, and the ones that aren't are not clients anymore. So
yeah. So you were pretty involved when you were at Loyola. How does this team compare to how things were done at Loyola? Like, what are some similarities? What are some differences?
That's a good question. I'd say from a culture standpoint, at Loyola, it was, be committed to the culture. And I'd say Coach really he's an amazing culture guy. Like, I'm not going to compare him and Coach Moser and stuff like that in those ways. They're different in different ways, but from a culture standpoint, it's something we really value here, which is important. And the big thing is getting the guys to play the right way. Obviously, a lot of seniors this year, they're used to playing a certain way in their college careers, but Coach really harps on culture, and he's a guy that you can go into his office anytime. He's always bringing energy. The players really trust him, and they understand what our staff is doing. But, I felt like at Loyola, everything was very high level and detailed. The guys, the coaching staff, the players were always working hard. The same feeling I get here. I mean, the guys want to win, and our coaching staff works very hard, and we're always in the office looking for advantages. So from that standpoint, I think it's just the winning culture. It's definitely here.
Awesome. So, with building this roster, you had to bring in guys from all over the place. How's it been getting everybody to gel together?
Oh, it's been good. I think the team gets along great on and off the court. We have a group of guys that, have similar backgrounds as far as like highly touted kids out of high school, and then other players that have kind of been underrated. But I think everyone's kind of committed to the vision of us winning and doing whatever it takes for us to win. I mean, coach has said it. We're going to have guys that lead our team in scoring every night, a different guy. So, and everyone really kind of accepts that, and we just want to win as many games as we can. And I think that's the best thing about this team. These guys really, they don't care as much about the individual numbers. They're looking to win, and that's a good nucleus to have, and the chemistry on the team is great from my perspective.
Awesome. Sorry, I forgot what I was just going to say. Oh, so when guys are coming in, does any of the traditional scouting stuff factor into your report? Like, you get guys that are highly touted out of high school. Does that factor in, or are you more looking at the raw numbers when they're on the court?
Me personally, obviously, I'm more numbers focused, but I never throw away stuff that you can't, measure with a number. Like, if you want to say the cliche stuff like heart, determination, things like that, and just kind of what makes up a player. I mean, and coach is really good at evaluating that too, but we do a good job of meshing the two together. From my standpoint, I'm looking mainly at the numbers, but there's like certain red flags. Like if they have a really poor shot profile, that's something we can correct. But if they like take selfish shots and things like that, and you can see that on film, and Coach does a good job of judging that too. So it's a good balance.
That's awesome. So are you involved in the day-to-day coaching at all, or are you more of a back office guy?
So I'm out here on the floor and at practices. I mean, I leave the really coaching heavy stuff to the coaches. That's their job. That's what they specialize in. And I think we do a good job of, I will give them the data and they kind of relay it to the players in a way that is, digested well, because you can't just give a player an encyclopedia of information. They're not playing a game at the dictionary on the court. But there's also, I have conversations with players about shot selection, things like that, things that they can do better, and all the players are very receptive, whether it's me or the coaches, giving them that information.
Awesome. So what's been the biggest surprise to you being on a D1 staff? Like something that you didn't expect? Or did you feel like you had a pretty good handle?
That's a good question. Well, I've been around a lot of teams. Obviously, I go and visit my clients, so from a practice standpoint, I kind of know what that's about. I don't know. We work a lot of hours, but I mean, I'm having a blast doing it. Honestly, so it's like I worked in a corporate finance job, 40 to 60 hours a week, and it's a grind in that. But I've never felt like it's a grind here, but it's a fun grind. So I mean, I just think the biggest thing is maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe we work a lot, but it's fun. It's a blast, to be honest. I've there's been practices where we've had great practice and it's like 7, 8 o'clock. It's like, I wish we could stay longer. So, no, it's been great. There's no really surprises or anything. It's been everything I expected, and honestly, it's been awesome.
Awesome. Were there any surprises coming out to Laramie? Because Laramie's a different animal.
Oh, pleasantly surprised, to be honest with you. I didn't know what to expect, but my wife and I both. It's a cute little town. Great community. I love the passion everyone has for the football team that we've seen. Hopefully we can replicate that for basketball. But it's awesome to be in a place where people love the Cowboys. Everyone's invested in their success, and that's what college sports is about. And that's it's been awesome to be here, because going to Loyola, it's in the heart of Chicago. We would have 15, 20 people you think in the stands, before we were good. And it's just like, there's a lot of things to do in Chicago, even after going to the Final Four and not selling out. But, it's, so you see in the football games, 25,000 people at it. Like, that's what it's about. And that makes it fun for the players, the coaches, for everyone. So, Laramie's awesome.
Yeah, I've told people for years, I'm in Cheyenne, but same kind of deal. But Laramie's great because you're in a college town, you're 100 miles away from like one of the biggest cities in the country, and you're another 100 miles away in the other direction from no one ever finding you ever.
Exactly.
So it's awesome. Kind of the best of both worlds.
Truthfully, yeah. No, I'm loving it.
Awesome. Anything you want to let the fans know? Anything that you think they should know about your role or about this team that would be of interest?
Yeah, we got a lot of guys that we're going to do whatever it takes to win. Myself, every player, every coach on the staff, we're invested in making Cowboy basketball, a prominent player in college basketball. There's no reason that, we got a national championship here. There's no reason that the best basketball in the country can't be played here. And I think that's, everyone's vision is committing to that. And I'm excited for the season starting. We need your support because, an arena like this with this many seats, we got to fill it, make it loud, make it a real big home court advantage, which it has been and needs to continue to be, even on a bigger scale. So I'm excited, and, we're going to win a lot of games.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot. That's all we got.
Thank you very much.